finds that there are several equally powerful factors which, when combined, militate against ordering a new trial. In summary, these factors are the insufficient and inadequate account by the prosecution for the availability of its witnesses and trial exhibits. Witnesses and trial exhibits relied upon by the appellants, which tended to support their defense at their first trial, are now unavailable or cannot be accounted for. 3. The appellant's trial in the Supreme Court was complex, lasting 64 days, and utilized a significant share of the court and the appellant's resources. Therefore, the time, financial costs, expense, and impact on the court's resources, as well as other cases in the queue awaiting trial, we find that this is significant and it militates against a new trial. 4, the psychological, financial, and medical effect that a new trial would likely have on the appellants who have already spent 13 years in custody, which is demonstrated by medical and other affidavit evidence. We look at the medical problems relating to the appellant Palmer, which came through medical reports that stand unchallenged by the Crown and therefore speak to declining health in the penal institution. The court looks at the lapse of time between the commission of the alleged offense and the likely time in which a new trial would take place, which would, in our estimation, be at least 15 years. We find that to be inordinate. 6, the unjustifiable interference with the appellant's constitutional rights to a fair hearing within a reasonable time under Section 16 of the Constitution of Jamaica, and the potential for that breach or interference, we should say, continuing if a new trial is ordered. We look at the potential prejudice to at least 2 of the appellants who, if convicted after a new trial, would be required to serve a longer term of imprisonment before eligibility for parole than that which was originally imposed upon them after their first trial due to the operation of the statutory mandatory minimum for the offense of murder. The court looks at other factors which it did not see swinging the pendulum either way, and our judgment will explain it all. We find that the submissions regarding pretrial publicity did not assist the appellants. We find that pretrial publicity is such that you would have to prove that it is impossible to obtain a fair trial, and that question is one for the trial court. What the court did find coming out of the issue of pretrial publicity is if the mechanisms have to be employed as the Crown had argued, that would add to the delay of the proceedings. As we have said, we have looked at all the other factors, but we find by now, having weighed everything in the balance, that the countervailing, the weight is against a new trial. Our judgment will explain everything in depth, but as we say, this is for the decision for you to understand what the court has done. Having regard to all the considerations the court has taken into account, we conclude that the interests of justice do not require a new trial to be ordered for the appellants, and we therefore make the following order. Judgments and verdicts of acquittal are entered in relation to clerks Mr. Jordan Jarrett, Mrs. Yumika Harris Mackenzie, and Mrs. Nicole McLennan, and Miss Shaniel Hunter. Had it not been for them, their assistants would not have been able to make the deadline given the workload of the court and the various things that we had to do over the past couple of weeks. So
I've got something to tell you guys. Guess what? It's an app called Big O Live. And if you're looking for friends,
give them the weight of the credit, and we thank them wholeheartedly for their assistance. It leaves us to thank counsel on both sides for your spirited, maybe sometimes combative arguments, but we have learned tremendously from both sides, and we hope that the judgment will show that we appreciated the scholarship and appreciated the issues for resolution. So that is it. The appellants are freed.
Welcome back. So Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, the President of the Court of Appeal, delivering the Court of Appeal's decision, essentially freeing Vybz Kartel, Sean Storm Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John. Dion, they used all the points you raised that they considered and added a few more.
Yeah, well, some of them, they broke out. So let me make a couple of points here. One, the strongest factor, perhaps we should just say for anybody who is watching who is not clear, the court has ordered that the 4 men should be freed, that verdicts of acquittal should be entered, which means they are going to be free. There's not going to be a retrial. So let's just say that up front. Now, the strongest factor in the prosecution's favor was always going to be the fact that this was alleged to have been an extremely heinous murder, gruesome circumstances, and in a high crime environment like Jamaica, there's always going to be an argument to be made that those kinds of allegations need to be tested in court. And you can see that the president made a point of describing what she called the egregious nature and the seriousness of the offense.
Bareface she used, yes.
Bareface, and she said bears a hallmark of a deliberate attack. But then said all the other factors outweighed that particular issue. There's one thing, she spoke about, the first thing she mentioned was the issue of the availability of evidence and the exhibits.
Exhibits, yes.
So what happened was that during the hearing into whether or not there should be a retrial, raised the point that the exhibits that had been available in the first trial, that they needed to be verified as being available in the second trial if there is going to be a retrial. He said that there were 25 exhibits that had been produced or that had been brought in at the first trial, but he said only 14 of those had been verified as being available for a retrial. He said among the ones that had not been verified were some of the most important. The DVD that contained the video that was alleged to have been of the murder were being made and what was going to happen and what was not going to happen, those DVDs had not been certified as being available for a second trial. The judge, and obviously that's going to be huge because those are critical aspects of the evidence. In addition, the defense also said that some of the exhibits that they relied on had not been verified as well. And I think one of the big questions coming out of this verdict of the Court of Appeal, this decision of the Court of Appeal, the Crown needs to tell us what happened.
Yes.
What happened to those exhibits? Why can't they be found? Did they disappear? Did somebody thief them? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, the chain of custody, which was also an issue in the trial itself,
yes.
It must come to play again.
Yes, so that absolutely needs to be explained. And then the president also mentioned the issue of witnesses. And again, she had been asking about that during the retrial hearing. She had indicated that she wasn't satisfied with the prosecution's assertion that their witnesses were available for a retrial. You know, she was saying she wanted to see, for instance, my words, not hers. I called Milton. Milton says, yes, he'll come. I called Dion. Dion says, yes, he'll come. yes, she'll come. And she was saying she wasn't getting that kind of detail in terms of the availability of the witnesses. And you saw her mention that as an issue, and that clearly is going to be an issue if you're talking about a retrial where you're depending on a sole eyewitness and all these very important exhibits. And then the huge issue that was there for them was the issue of delay as well, and how long it was the men.
She said it would be now 15 years.
That was based on the fact that the men have been in custody now for nearly 13 years, and they were trying to figure out how long it would likely be before a retrial. So they had asked the Supreme Court, you know, the matters that we have sent to you for retrial, what has happened to them? And what they heard was that 2 matters had been sent, one in 2022, one in 2023, and neither of them, October 2022, October 2023, neither of them had yet been tried. So the Court of Appeal was saying, okay, so this perhaps will give an indication, which is why she said they're estimating probably another 2 years before you could have a retrial, which means that the men would then have been in custody for 15 years in all. And then that she was saying as well in relation to 2 of the men, because of a change in the law now has a mandatory minimum. I have to check the exact amount. Sorry, I should have checked that before. But based on the increase in the length of time you have to serve before being eligible for parole, it meant that 2 of the men now would end up with a longer sentence than they had had in the first trial, and that is not supposed to happen.
Why would that be so when the crime was committed, the law was at a particular point, when the law at that time was for the mandatory minimum sentencing law wasn't in place?
I'm not
no,
sure.
I'm saying, why would that be a factor?
Oh, they're saying that that's the law that would now govern the sentencing.
Even though the
because
crime
remember,
was
it's going back to a retrial, so you're going to have a trial all over again. But I understand we now have our colleague Dwayne.
Dwayne Anderson is outside the Court of Appeal in Justice Square. Dwayne, tell us what's happening there.
Thank you so much, Milton. Well, as you can imagine, for a matter that has been going on for about 14 years, not a lot of people were aware that there was a monumental development in the case today. So really a small crowd gathered here in Justice Square in downtown Kingston. But when news emerged that Vybz Kartel and his co-accused were freed, large celebrations erupted. Now, I'll be joined by Sandy. She's one of Kartel's biggest fans. She's here almost every day. There's a matter involving Vybz Kartel, and she's literally cried tears when things have not gone his way in this matter. She now joins me. Sandy, your immediate reaction to Vybz Kartel being freed by the court?
Yeah, I'm not lie, I'm glad, I'm happy, I'm glad the boss free time come. A long time now them for free the boss. I'm a thank the court system. I'm a glad.
At Staples, we're experts in your world of work. With over 2,000
Kartel free today. Big up yourself, Kartel. My foot sick and me have to come out, come represent for you today straight. Look a while to all me a jump and a scream for my sick foot. I forgot to say all my foot sick. Man, not lie. My happy. Man, not lie. My glad say the boss free today. Time come. Over 18 years or 18 years. No man time come today. My talk it and it happen. Man know the boss did I go free today. Free world boss. Straight Kartel, big up yourself. Gaza, big up yourself. Straight.
We spoke to you this morning, Sandy, and you were very confident. Why were you so confident this morning?
Yeah, cause I come with good luck. Me not come with bad luck. I know say the artist did I go free. Anything I say go. That. Anything I say straight, I say go God and time. Me not come with bad luck. I come with good luck. Anything I say that happen straight. Him did have to come today straight. Anybody who God bless, no man curse. Right, sure.
And Sandy, you tell me that you're not just here by yourself, but you're also here with your mommy. What does Kartel mean to you and your mother, really, why you all came here from Dwayne Park?
Well, my lie, no. My mother and Kartel born January, and my mother always say she and the boss born January. So you don't know. My day who my mother say, you know, say I feel like mother go down with the court there today. I say, come mommy, oh you mean we are going to represent straight because the boss are come today and see that happen.
Final question for you, Sandy. What would be your advice to your favorite entertainer for the first thing he's supposed to do when he comes out on the road?
Well, man, lie, spend some time time around him family them, cause at time now the boss miss him family them, and you don't know him have to spend some quality family time, build up them time the back, and you don't know, just be safe and keep yourself out of trouble. And you know what, them way they keep prayed up, same way, you know, big up yourself. Well, you don't know party after that and the party thing a lock, you don't know right show, anything, anywhere the party, them are there straight.
Sandy, one of Vybz Kartel's most loyal supporters through this 14-year saga that he and his men who have not been freed have been involved in from 2011. Now, as I mentioned, a small crowd really gathered here in downtown Kingston this morning, meaning it was a relatively incident-free, well, so far for the security personnel who took out all the stops to ensure that, you know, security was beefed up here in
Nation, so you hear what going on there, so dancehall artist Vybz Kartel